and welcome back to, or perhaps for the very first time, to my channel. I am William Gwynne and this is Nelly, getting ready for Christmas. So she's in a little Christmas outfit. And today on the channel I will be talking about the surprises that I've had recently in media, so books, programs, films and etc. And it'll be the good and the bad. So hopefully you enjoy this video. That's what I'll be talking about today. And yep, no, you're enjoying that. She likes to get into the Christmas mood, as you can tell. And yeah, what do you think? I think she looks far smarter than me. I wish I had a Christmas hat right now, but yeah, the dog's first. She gets priority. But now let's get on into the video. So first up I have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This was her debut, part of the, I believe it's called the Poppy War trilogy. It might not be, apologies if I've got that wrong, but I'm afraid this goes into the bad category. There were great elements to this, such as R.F. Kuang's prose style. I thought that was really brilliant. It was stripped back, very efficient, but I just didn't click with the plot or the characters as such. I thought there's some great side characters, but those who were really integral to the story, I thought they were lacking a bit, and they seemed a bit caricature at times. I thought for a book that wanted to feel gritty and realistic, or I believe that's what it seemed like it wanted to feel like, I thought it was just a bit far-fetched, because it's like teenagers study strategy for about a year, defeating those who have studied it for decades, and then our main character, she studies martial arts for a few months and then starts beating people who have done it for 10 years, and it didn't ring true. And so I just found that a bit jarring, more than I probably should have, to be honest. But of course every reading experience is unique depending on the person, so I don't think it would affect other people as much as it did me. And as I said, there were good parts about this, and it certainly wasn't a bad book, but I didn't love it. I think I would give it maybe 3.5 stars, and I will carry on with this series because maybe it gets better in the second installment in terms of what I thought was a bit lacking. But yeah, so it's quite a shame there, because I've heard a lot of people raving about how much they love The Poppy War and the rest of the series. But yeah, sadly for me, I really went into this thinking I would love it. I'm really wanting to love it, but yeah, with those bits that felt a bit contradictory to the tone, it jarred me more than it should have. But yeah, so that's why it is in the bad category. But now let's go on to something which is in the good category, and that is Babel, an entirely different book to The Poppy War, but by the same author. The Poppy War is fantasy, this is historical fiction, and this is full with compelling and complex characters. And that is what I thought was lacking from The Poppy War, but was so present here. R.F. Kuang took what she did really well in The Poppy War, brought that to this, but then really made those other elements shine as well. There's no weak part to this story, in my opinion, and I thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it, from the first page to the last. I know that's a saying that so many people say, and it's often not really the case, but I mean it. From the first page, something happened which I was immediately hooked, and R.F. Kuang did a great job to maintain that throughout, whilst at times having a slower pace and really just building on the characters and their relationships. But I am a character-driven reader, so sometimes when the plot takes a back foot for a while, I don't care as such, as long as the characters are still at the forefront and there's interesting things that I find it engaging. And Babel did a great job really balancing the plot of character, the world building, etc. So yes, it is historical fantasy, so it is about a student of Chinese descent who is sent to Babel, so the Languages Institute of Oxford, and the magical element comes in that language fuels something, these silver bars, which I won't say about the intricacies because it's part of the journey of learning throughout this book, but basically these silver bars fuel the British Empire, and if you want something to look really pretty, you do something and it enhances it. So it doesn't create something, it enhances something. So it's used for travel as such, so it makes the materials hardier, or makes them travel faster or last longer, etc, etc. And so yeah, it's really about kind of fueling the British Empire, and that comes into play, this kind of conflict of interest and conflict of identity, where these characters who have been taken from so our main character is taken from China by this mysterious, enigmatic Professor Lavelle, and he is adopted by this man when his family have died in China. And so he's going to the British Empire, and he knows what the British Empire is fueling atrocities across the globe, and that it conflicts with this presentation of Oxford and Babel, it seems like a fairy tale. It's like a dream because he adores study and he just loves this camaraderie and this sense of belonging, something he's good at, something that people look to him for, and something that he can complete with people who he feels genuine love for. And I thought it's really interesting showing that kind of conflict of conscience. And what do you choose? Do you choose your friends, or... I won't go into it further because that's part of what is brilliant about Babel, is you just do not know what direction this book is going, but at the same time you feel this sense of dread lurking in the background because you've got an omniscient narrator, and at times it's just little asides that it reminds you that something bad is going to happen. Basically, there's a line, I think, that these truly were the golden days, and something about how they would have to face their very real differences at some point not too far away. So you realise in this moment that actually made me feel joy where these people are getting along. You just had that dread in the background, knowing that I think it's going to come crashing down at some point. And yeah, so I thought this was absolutely brilliant, and as I said, very different to the Poppy War, and I thought different for the better, but of course that's my opinion. I just really liked this premise, historical fantasy. I thought Ira Kung did an exceptional job, and it's one of my favourite reads of 2022. Next up, I have even more positivity, and that is, of course, going to be in the good category, and it is a film this time, and that is Wind River. So I thought this would be a simple murder drama with some tension. Well, I was right in the sense that it was a murder mystery with a drama, but I was wrong to assume that it would be just that. That is a gross injustice to leave it just as that. This is a film with superb acting, so much tension, and a depth to both character and plot that I think is really rare to find in films or programmes. This led to a climactic and shocking conclusion that was really full of emotion. It tugged on the heartstrings, and I did cry, so it shows that this is a film that really engages you and makes you feel immersed in the story and the characters and what unfolds. So yeah, I felt really attached to these characters. I felt hatred for some, love for others, and it's really hard to do that in a film, but I thought Wind River did it brilliantly. It was superbly acted by Jeremy Renner and... what's her name? Scarlet Witch in Marvel. Elizabeth Olsen. Crikey, it took way too long to get to that answer. But you know when something leaves your mind and you just cannot carry on until you know the answer, because it's just going to be nagging at you the whole time. But I've got my answer, Elizabeth Olsen. So as I was saying, Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, they are the two main cast members of this film, and they both do an incredible job. So Elizabeth Olsen plays the role of a rookie FBI detective who is sent to look at this crime and what has happened. A bit like Clarice in Silence of the Lambs, thrown into the deep end, but this is an altogether different story. And Jeremy Renner is a local who understands that the weather is both friend and foe, and he is a hunter, so he knows how to kind of track, obviously, where these people have gone and what, because the crime is in a bit of the the middle of nowhere, so he's trying to find who could have been involved, who was local to this crime, etc. And he's a grieving father, and the way that he plays this role is just done brilliantly. I can't say any more because part of this film is about the twists and turns and taking you in directions that you do not expect. So I highly recommend reading this. I wish I could say watching this, I wish I could say more, but of course that would give things away, and I don't want to do that. I want you to have the full experience if you do choose to try this out. But yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it's one of the best films I've watched in years. Next up, I have Rings of Power. So unlike a lot of Tolkien fans, I went into this quite optimistic. I mean, look, it's Middle Earth, so how could I not like it? Well, I really didn't like it, and so yeah, sadly this is in the bad category. I was really hoping that it would be good, and of course I'm very happy, a bit envious actually that some people have enjoyed this. So I wish I was like them and I enjoyed it, but things just grated on me. There's things that didn't make sense, like, I won't say character names because of course it might be spoilers if you've not watched it already, but they just swim for like 300 miles for no reason, and of course it just doesn't make sense. The political machinations just didn't feel like political machinations. It just felt a bit wooden. I thought the actors, some of them, I think they did a good job. I think, of course, it's down to the dialogue, and I thought that was the problem. Actors, they can't do a great job if they're not given good content and good dialogue, and I thought that's where the root of the problem was. It was rooted in that problem, as I cannot speak suddenly. Obviously, I'm very passionate about Rings of Power and Middle Earth. But Yeah, I thought there's some really good intricate ideas that came into play, which were little nods of respect to Tolkien's writing. But overall, I felt that why would it get rid of a lot of the content that there actually was, which fans would have loved? But yeah, sadly, I really did not like this. I didn't finish the series. I forgot what episode I got to. There's people said it was a big battle, but it was a little fight in a village, which felt so tropey in my opinion. But as I said, I'm very glad that some people really enjoyed this, and yeah, I wish I was them. But yeah, so that is Rings of Power. I love all of Tolkien's works, but sadly I did not enjoy this adaptation. Next up, this is the last I'll be talking about today, and it is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. Very different from what I would usually read. This is essentially a collection of autobiographical short stories by the vet James Herriot. Sorry, I'm choking again. Why do I keep doing this in my videos? That drink just suddenly becomes my enemy. Sorry, just give me a second. So yes, as I was saying, the vet James Herriot wrote this, and this is basically about his exploits as he was first hired in the village of Darrowby in the Yorkshire Dales. And it's a bit of a love letter to the setting, how he fell in love with the place, but it's also about the people, about him loving his profession as well. And of course, I'm an animal lover, so this is about animals and how much he loves them as well. So yeah, it's really lovely in that way. It's very heartfelt, heartwarming. It's a feel-good book. And whilst, as I said, it is autobiographical, it is written in a short story kind of format. But they're told in a linear way, so they connect throughout with the recurring characters. And they're all real people, so it's lovely in that way as well. And this has been adapted to a series which I have absolutely loved watching with my family. We've watched the first 2 seasons and thought they're brilliant. And the 3rd one is out, but we've not watched it yet, which is a bit of a crime from us, given how much we talk about it. But yeah, I thought All Creatures Great and Small was absolutely wonderful. I'm currently listening to the sequel, All Things Bright and Beautiful, and yeah, that is fantastic as well. And this is set in the 1930s, but James Herriot was writing in the 1960s, I believe. So it's got a bit of that reflective tone of retrospection as well, which has a hint of, not melancholy, but I'm not sure what it is, but it's just a sense of appreciating what was great about the time and realising that you're in the golden days before you leave them. So yeah, there is kind of that, yeah, I suppose I would call it a tiny melancholic, I'm not sure, I'm just musing on the spot here. Maybe not melancholic, as I said, it is a love letter to a place, and part of it is also about how times change, and it changes what things look like and people's mindsets. And in the village of Darrowby, a lot of them are very old-fashioned and looking to the old ways of society. So yeah, it's a bit about how society changes as well. And yeah, as I said, it is a love letter to the place and the people, and I thought it was just lovely. It's a lovely book to read. It's very different from what I usually read or listen to, but I absolutely loved it. So there we go, that is some surprises of recent times, the good and the bad. So yeah, there we go. I didn't enjoy Rings of Power, and I wasn't as keen on the Poppy Wars as I thought I would be. Part of that is my own fault, I freely admit. Partly because it shouldn't have jarred me as much. I was just acting a bit weird, I think. But also because I went in with such high expectations. When something doesn't hit those heights, it's more disappointing than it should be. So yeah, I was the creator of my own demise there. But as I said, I absolutely loved Babel by R.F. Kuang, so it's nothing to do with their writing at all. It's just me, as I said. But yeah, that's part of the joy of reading, isn't it? That we all enjoy different things. Else we would just have a list of 100 books that everyone should read, and that'd be the end of that, wouldn't it? So yeah, as I said, that's part of the joy, that reading is subjective and we all enjoy different things. And I loved All Creatures Great and Small, and I loved Babel, and also the film Wind River I talked about today as well, which I hope you do try out. I've done a little short review on here. I think I actually talked about it more in this video because shorts have to be under a minute. But if you're interested in hearing a bit more about that from my lips, then you can check out that short. But thank you so much for watching. Whoa, that's now come on the Brothers Gwynne there. See, it's such an automatic reaction. We always say truth and courage as we leave, but this is my channel. But yeah, truth and courage to you all. Hopefully Ed isn't going to think I'm stealing our lines. But to be fair, we stole it from Papa Gwynne's book, The Faith and the Fallen series. So yeah, I think I'll get away with that one. But yeah, it just shows that I'm in a bit of automatic pilot today. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.